and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren, and today I'm back with another Lindsay Nicole video. This one is about saber-toothed cats that we know of. It's the history of cats. It's episode 2. I'm a little late on the watching of this video, but I'm looking forward to it anyway. Like I said, I've always enjoyed the Lindsay Nicole content, and we're talking about saber-toothed cats. I've heard of these guys, but I'm gonna hear about a lot more than I knew of, apparently. So let us begin.
You've heard of Smilodon, the extinct saber-toothed tiger from the Ice Age. But did you know that they were just the end of an entire
I didn't know it was called a Smilodon. I just knew it was saber-toothed tiger.
Branch of saber-toothed cats that dominated the world for millions of years. These prehistoric apex predators are called the Maradons. And today, for the second episode of my cat series, I'm going to introduce you to them. So, let's just get right into it. My name is Lindsay Nicole, and this is the history of cats that we know of. Let's get the global conditions out of the way. Last time our attention was on Eurasia and North America through the Eocene and Oligocene epochs. Today, it's on Eurasia and Africa in the Miocene. Shit was popping off in the Miocene. If you know any animal from the Miocene, if this was Family Feud, I think number 1 would be Megalodon. Classic. Riddled with conspiracy. Their foe, the Leviathan whale. But they have nothing to do with Africa and Eurasia.
So we're not going to talk
about them because there were plenty of heinous freaks on land at the time, like Homotherium, the original crimson chin. They were gargantuan, at 13 feet tall at the shoulder and up to 30,000 pounds.
Wow.
Which, by the way, 13 feet tall is 5 feet taller than this. Wait, no, that's not 8 feet. 13 feet tall is 7 feet taller than this.
There you go.
Gotta wake up a little bit. There was also Homotherium, also known as the dog bears.
Puma-sized,
dog-like bears. Pretty self-explanatory. Epicene, which were not bears, but dogs. Big dogs. Big, bone-crushing dogs.
Also
some of the
love
largest
them.
canids to ever exist that we know of, at about 300 pounds. I know,
Cool.
Seems pretty small for the largest dog. That's just how the cookie is crumbled evolutionarily. For Homotherium, pretty sick-looking freak, with a face perfectly adapted to bang a lot. This was reproductive selection at work that probably went too far in that direction and led to death by too sexy. Hexaprotodon, a horrific hippo with a mouth like nobody's business.
Okay, so I've enjoyed the dogs and the little deer guy and hated that hippo thing.
But otherwise pretty much like hippos alive today. Other shit going on in Africa and Eurasia, specifically Africa. Early hominids, Sahelanthropus chilensis. My neighbors are outside.
Shadows are my cover.
They haven't seen me film yet. Fuck. Okay, they're going inside. I'm a little camera shy in my new setup. The great thing about this room is I get a lot of natural light, but that natural light looks directly at my neighbor's front door. All right.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
You got this. Back to business. Back to business.
It's giving that meme of that girl, the emo girl or whatever, like putting your face against the window saying, waiting for MCR to get back from the war. And then like the next video or the next image is of her like crouched under the window saying, my neighbors saw me.
Back to business. Sahelanthropus chilensis. The thing that's pretty sick to think about with the evolution of saber-toothed cats and the evolution of our ancestors is that shit was happening at the same time. But isn't that life? Everything's happening at the same time. Our ancestors were coming out of the trees, starting to walk upright, lost their tail in order to walk upright. Ardipithecus, Australopithecus, etc. That's a whole other series that should be done and deserves more than just a few sentences here. So I think that's a good general gist. A good place to stop. We've got a lot of shit to get through today, so I'm going to keep the global conditions pretty short. And it should just stay short for the rest of the series, because I know what you're really here for. Cats. And actually, my own cat needs a little... She needs to come say hello really quick. You guys can say hi. Just really quick. Right. Just really quick. Before we get into the saber-toothed cats, here's a look at the last saber-toothed cat remaining, Koya. Hear her roar.
Yeah.
So,
she's chatty.
Focus today is on the Maradons, the big teeth cats. Personally, I like big teeth. I think big teeth are cooler than small teeth. And maybe that's because my teeth are small. The grass is always greener. They say that. Specifically, big saber teeth. That's our focus today. A whole branch of the cat tree that is, of course, unfortunately extinct. But for most of their evolutionary history, were more diverse than the branch of cats alive today, the conical tooth cats. Quick distinction. Conical teeth are short, thick, and round. Perfect for gripping and puncturing prey without breaking. Saber teeth are long, thin, flat from side to side, forming blade-like canines specialized for slicing through flesh. But much more fragile. Just like the modern cat branch has a variety of different sizes, forms, characteristics, so did the saber-tooth branch. While yes, this branch included insane canines, insanines, if you will. This characteristic existed on a sliding scale, as all things do. Some Macarodons had insane eyes, while others had very modest, respectable saber teeth. We're gonna get to some specifics.
Very
in a bit.
demure.
Just wanted to do a little PSA right off the top. Like I mentioned earlier, the Macarodons are thought to have originated somewhere in Eurasia, possibly Africa, during the Miocene, from a French little guy named Pseudailerus quadridentatus.
Oh, right,
by
the
little
fake-
guy, I mean the size of a leopard. So maybe not little guy in size, but in
Pseudailerus.
placement in the Macarodon lineage. Little guy in terms of current status, big guy in terms of potential, and also size. It had slightly flattened upper canines that hinted at the direction of the saber-tooth adaptation. Saber teeth are iconic and have evolved in multiple different lineages. In marsupials, like Thylacophilus, other
Oh.
carnivores, like the Creodons,
Predons were closely related to carnivorids, but not true carnivores. Good to know.
Macharoides specifically, a classic case of convergent evolution. So, what exactly was the purpose of this adaptation in the cats? Actually, not purpose. Evolution doesn't have a purpose. Shit is just random, and different variations end up having slightly more benefits than others and have a higher chance of being passed down to the next generation. They allow those individuals to survive longer, to reproduce more. So I guess the better question would be, what function did longer and longer blade-like developing canines serve that wasn't as possible before? The traditional idea is that it allowed them to take down larger and larger prey. This saber trait is typically accompanied by robust forelimbs, so thought to
Or
be
maybe
for
like
larger
thicker
prey. One
skin,
paper written
too.
back in 2010 suggests another reason: make kills quicker. One quick, thick bite to the throat, pow, bleed out, done, rather than asphyxiate, get thrashed around and shit. A quick, thick bite would take less energy than a full-on strangle that cats do today. And
Especially if their teeth were a little bit more fragile. You'd want to get in and out quickly and just rip it out instead of, because if it's thrashing around, then your teeth break. That would suck.
analysis of early Macarodons supports this hypothesis. Also, by the way, one of the authors of this paper, Mauricio Antar, insane paleo artist. Some of the best paleo art I've ever seen, in my opinion. Prehistoric cats are his bread and butter. It's worth mentioning really quick, I might have made it seem like saber teeth would be more beneficial to have over the classic conical tooth, which are more about strangling. Obviously, that is not the case. All the saber-toothed cats are extinct now. Each
Yeah.
tooth shape has its own advantages and disadvantages, and existed alongside each other for a
Not sure, editor is not sure if these two actually encountered each other, but it's still cool though. Well, like I was saying though, like if the other animals around started getting a little bit buffer or like more willing, like if their prey started to become more thrashy based and their teeth would break, then, you know, it makes a certain amount of sense that the saber-tooths would not be able to eat as easy.
very long time, occupying different niches. For a long time, you could have argued saber teeth were superior just based on the fact that there were more Macarodons than felines for millions of years. But that shit switched up. Felines are the only ones left standing. So, once again, the cookie crumbles the way the cookie will crumble. Anyway, the early days of this lineage are, you guessed it, elusive and very on brand for a branch of cats. You probably feel very familiar with them because of Smilodon. Smilodon is a special case in this group. We have a shit ton of their fossils from the La Brea tar pits. They are very well represented in the
okay.
fossil record. But historically, this lineage has been quite misunderstood. Even the earliest discoveries of this group were placed in the wrong category, in Ursus, the bear genus. Not American indie rock group Boy Genius, but bear genus, Ursus, back in 1824. Luckily, this was corrected in 1828. They were thrown
okay,
into the
so
cat
that's not long.
basket. Since then, the Macarodon lineage has been separated into 3 different branches, or tribes. Let me get my whiteboard. Jesus, what a
Whiteboard.
long fucking word. So, obviously at the bottom, Macarodontinae. That is the Macarodon family. Separated into 3 different groups. The first one, Macarodontinae. Notice how it's spelled slightly differently.
Spelled
from
more Italian.
Macarodontinae. Ini. That's how I like to pronounce it. Ini, like a martini. In this case, anything with ini is a tribe. Macarodontinae is the family name. Ini is the tribe. So we've got
All right.
the first one, Macarodontinae, also known as the scimitar-toothed cats. Smilodontae, the dirk-toothed cats.
Aw, look at him.
Taylorini. I'm gonna call them the Macarodon misfits, because they're kind of just like different from the other 2. That's how you know what they are. They're just different from the other 2.
They're
I
not
like
like
saying
the other
ini,
2.
I think it's cute. I think saying Macarodontinae makes it sound really like some sort of drink. We did this in the History of Life series.
It's like it sounds cute. It just sounds adorable. Not as like a drink to me, but it's like, oh, look at the teeny weeny. Like it just sounds small and adorable.
I like making drinks. So, Smilodontae to me sounds like a Baja Blast with vodka in it for degenerates. Macarodontine sounds more classy, like an old-fashioned served in a tiny
Sure.
barrel that a St. Bernard wears on their collar. You know
I
those
can see
little
that.
barrels they always have
No.
St. Bernards wearing? I feel like Macarodontine is an old-fashioned served in that. And
Okay.
Taylorini sounds like a martini with gold flakes in it that instant makes it a $40 drink. I would
You
never
know what?
order
I mean, the metal in there. I can see where she's coming from.
or a Matailorini. I would order a Smilodontini if I was 21 or 18 in a different country. And Macarodontini, I would order if I was trying to impress somebody with how much of an adult I am, how classy I can be. But, big disclaimer, matter of fact, huge. These tribes might not be valid anymore.
Oh.
I know. There's a lot of question marks
That was
on
quick.
like, overlapping traits, convergent evolution. You know, for the 50th time, this lineage is muddy as fuck. But I'm gonna go with the traditional groups anyway, just for the sake of organization.
Just to make it
no,
easy.
these groups are maybe just for organizational purposes in this video and not valid. Seems like it's up in the air right now, as far as I understand. I know that classification and iffy classification shit can easily give you a headache. Maybe it makes you want to lie down for a bit. But Lindsay, what if my mattress is super uncomfortable and gives me even more of a headache? Well, look no further than Helix Sleep, a premium mattress company that delivers customized mattresses right to your door, and just so happens to be the sponsor of today's video. If you've watched my channel before, you know I've had quite the journey with Helix. First, they helped me get my sister Presley a new mattress as a graduation present, because they're the best. Then I got jealous because the mattress was actually really comfortable. So I decided to get one for myself as a daybed for my office, for a place for my guests to sleep. All I had to do was fill out their quick and easy sleep quiz that matches you to the perfect mattress based on your body type and sleep preferences. And what do you know? I was matched with the same Helix Midnight model as my sister. And it came really quick to my place. Helix delivers your mattress.
I just was like, I feel like a lot of times I see these like Helix ads on a lot of YouTube videos, and 90% of the time they're using them as guest beds, not their own mattress. So I'm just like, but is it good though?
Right to your door with free shipping in the US. It comes rolled up in a box, making it super easy to set up. Just unbox it, unroll it, let it expand, done. Lickety split. Since having it, I have chosen many nights on this guest bed instead of my own because it is just that comfortable.
Why do you not
I also just had some friends stay over for the night and they didn't want to leave because the bed is just that comfortable. I'm not making that up. They actually said that. And you might be thinking, Lindsay, this sounds too good to be true, but I'm interested. Well, here's another reason to try it out. If you're not sure if you'll love it, Helix offers a 100-night sleep trial. You get to test it out, make sure it's perfect for you. Plus, their mattresses come with a 10-year warranty, so you know you're getting quality. They also offer financing options and flexible payment plans. Right now, they have an exclusive Memorial Day offer for you, i.e. a viewer of this channel, for 27% off site-wide, plus a free bedding bundle with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. This offer is available until May 31st. Just go to helixsleep.com/LindsayNicole.
I'm filming this on May 31st, so sorry, y'all.
To claim it. Thank you, Helix, for sponsoring this video. Now, onto the tribes of the Macaradon tree. Starting off with Matailorini, the Macaradon misfits. So, the reason I say that is because they have a strange mix of characteristics that made it hard to pin down if they were even Macaradons at all. In the past, they were argued to be maybe more closely related to the big cats, the whole other side of the aisle in the conical tooth lineage. Their teeth were shorter and less flat than the classic Sabertooth look, but also longer and more blade-like than the conicals. They also looked more like big cats in overall body form. They had their own shit going on.
All right.
As far as I understand for now, they are accepted in the Macaradon lineage as simply an experimental offshoot with a different degree of bladedness in their teeth. That makes sense. I'm going to introduce you to some of the most notable species in this lineage, starting from earliest and going to latest.
Cool.
We're going to do that
Let's
for
go.
each tribe. Earliest to latest. So, earliest.
Organization.
Yoshi.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yoshi!
that's its scientific name. Its fragmented remains were first found in Greece back in the 1930s, and it danced around the cat classification system for like 80 years. Throughout that time, scientists connected other remains found in China to this cat, gave it a new name, assigned all these remains to Matailoris, cat we'll get to in a second. But then in 2014, a Bulgarian paleontologist named Nikolai Spasov and his colleagues said, fuck all that. Some of these remains are not Matailoris. This is a new cat.
Ooh.
And they gave it the genus name Yoshi after Nikolai's pet cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
And it literally says that in the paper. Look, etymology. Yoshi is the name of the favorite cat of one of us. That's
oh,
Yoshi was a
that's
lynx
adorable.
to cheetah-sized cat with a short, wide skull and upper canines that were only slightly compressed and not serrated. They were alive during the late Miocene, so sometime between 9 to 5 million years ago. Their build suggests they were active hunters in open environments, using bursts of speed and powerful leaps. And the skull is especially cheetah-like. They have a sloping face and elevated eye sockets, similar to cheetahs alive today. But it seems as though they were leapers more than sprinters. A leaping, cheetah-faced, slightly saber-toothed cat named Yoshi. It doesn't get any better than that. All right,
That's
next,
very good.
Matailoris, who I started to mention before. As you probably already guessed, they are the namesake of the tribe, Matailorini. The tribe was named after them. They were first described from
killer
fossils found in
eyeliner.
China in 1924. Then, later, they were found across Europe as well. From my understanding, these are separate from the remains that are now called Yoshi. There is Yoshi in Europe, and also Matailoris in Europe. valid. But if I'm wrong about that, let me know. The earliest fossils date to about 8 million years ago, but they were around for a very long time, this genus as a whole, until like 100,000 years ago. By the way,
Oh, wow.
it's like 4 times as long as our genus.
That's nuts.
They had slightly longer upper canines, were puma to snow leopard sized. Oh my God, my neighbors are back. I need to get over this. I get stage fright. I don't want anybody to see me filming.
No, I feel that. I also feel that. This is the reason that I like basically never practice singing anymore, because I'm like, people are around and like they can hear me probably. If I in my bedroom can hear the next door neighbor going up and down the back stairs in their yard, they can hear me sing. If I can hear their thump, thump, thump down the stairs, they can hear me practice. And so I don't practice, and so I don't get better, and then I am terrible at karaoke. And also it means that I don't do like musicals. Like I don't do musical. I don't audition for them because I'm like, can't practice. Can't ever practice. Someone might hear me.
That's Metailerus. I'm moving on. I got thrown off. That's all I really have to say anyway. The most successful and best known Metailerine is Dinofelis, another confusing cat that was first described in 1924 from China. Historically, they've been placed all over the cat family tree, in every little pocket of the tree that you can imagine, but has landed in Metailerini, at least for now. Dinofelis is often called a false saber-toothed cat because its canines were pretty short and only moderately flat, but they had a build robust and not adapted for speed, which is like what Macarodons had going on as a whole. They were probably ambush predators in forests and woodlands. And they existed for a pretty long time too, like 7.5 to 1 million years ago. And their fossils have been found in Europe, Asia, Africa, and North America.
Alright, so they were everywhere.
Homo erectus of the Metailerines, all over the place.
They're everywhere,
Well,
yeah.
I guess not, because they're all extinct now. But a million years ago, they weren't. So you get what I was trying to say. And
They
speaking
were
of
all over the
hominids,
place.
as they keep coming up, there's actual fossil evidence that Dinofelis was tearing their shit up on very rare occasion. Very rare, but on occasion nonetheless.
But it
There's some
happens.
remains in South Africa of both Dinofelis and Paranthropus, or the robust hominids. And some of the Paranthropus skulls have perfectly sized Dinofelis teeth holes in it.
Ooh,
but
I think I've seen-
analysis
I
of
think I've
isotopes
seen that
in the
before.
teeth of Dinofelis suggests this was
That particular image. I feel like I've seen it before.
not usual. They were thought to be hominid hunters for a while. Turns out that's not the case. I know
No.
that would have been interesting, but they ate them occasionally. You can, I guess, say that for anything. All right,
Yeah,
we're moving on.
whenever, you know, when they were super hungry probably, or if like they got startled into killing a person or whatever.
Next tribe on our list, Macarodon,
Hominid.
the old-fashioned made in a St. Bernard's barrel. They were all about endurance. They traded brute strength, the other tribes are known for speed and stamina instead. They were the cheetah girls. They had slender builds and shorter, serrated scimitar teeth. These are the scimitar-toothed cats, who dominated ecosystems across 5 continents and existed for like 12 million years, at least. We're gonna start off
Again, stamina and endurance is pretty good. Isn't that how humans like became the top predator? Like, is that how we survived for as long as we did? It's because of endurance. Granted, we haven't survived for that long yet, but I mean, the endurance thing isn't bad.
off with Macarodus. Yes, the Macarodon in tribe Macarodontini, named Macarodus. They're the namesake of all of it. So that means when scientists first described
The
and
classic.
grouped saber-toothed cats, Macarodus was a key example they used to set the standard for the whole subfamily and tribe. Macarodus got a little bit bigger than modern lions, about 4 feet tall at the shoulder,
Oh, wow.
like here. And as time went on, species became more elongated in forelimbs, flattened in the canines, and cheek teeth. And they developed those finer serrations on the edges of their teeth. They were one of the earliest members of this tribe, first appearing in Eurasia about 12 million years ago, maybe a little earlier. Shit is muddy. And eventually spread to Africa and North America. Much later on, in North America about 2.5 million years ago, existed Xenosmilus, also known as the cookie cutter cat. Yeah,
I
you
love
bitches are
him.
gonna love this one. Fossil evidence suggests that rather than slicing or stripping meat, they used all of their teeth to tear out circular chunks of flesh. Cookies. You know who else does this, by the way? The cookie cutter shark. Knowing you, and I feel
Ooh.
like I know you pretty well,
Hi,
I'm gonna
cookie
guess
cutter.
you are into cookie cutter animals, especially a cat and a shark version. You're welcome. Their placement in the
Thank
cat
you.
tree was, once again, you guessed it, muddy as fuck for a while. They had a weird mix of traits. They had the stocky build of more of your
Those are some
Smilodon
pretty
type
crazy
forms,
shoulder
but
blades.
the serrated blades of a scimitar-toothed cat. They had their own shit going on. All of them did. Never expected to classify it, but here we are now measuring their bones. They never expected that to happen. They never knew they'd be called the shit that we're calling them, you know? All this is only for us. It's all for our benefit. Like, to them, they were not the oddballs of the Macarodontini tribe. They were just chilling. This means nothing to them. But what did matter to them, they were likely ambush hunters in woodland forests. And you know what? That's all that mattered to them. Maybe a lovely sunset mattered occasionally as well. And the last Maradon
Yes,
team on
I'm
the
sure they
list,
liked it.
Homotherium. Actually, this tribe is sometimes called Homotherium, by the way. But anyway, if you've watched my channel before or also do not live under a rock, you're probably familiar with Homotherium at least a little bit, and at least recently, because just last year, like 6 months ago, a 3-week-old Homotherium cub,
Oh, yeah.
well, it wasn't 6 months ago, it was announced.
Okay, I do remember seeing this then. Okay, I didn't remember that it was Homotherium. I do remember seeing that come up though.
6 months ago, a 3-week-old Homotherium cub was found frozen in ice in Russia. It was announced 6 months ago, found a few years ago. It's about 36,000 years old and is the first time an animal with no living relatives has been found fully preserved in ice. Because yeah, they are cats, but the saber-toothed cat split from the conical-toothed cats at the very least 10 million years ago. Probably more like 15 or 20.
wow.
Definitely more like 20. Homotherium was first described in 1846 from teeth found in the British cave of Kent's Cavern. It seemed as though an early human had carried the teeth inside, so they couldn't figure out a solid time period at the time. But since then, Homotherium remains have been found in different parts of Europe, Asia, North America, Africa, and even South America, which is fucking all of them, except for the ones that don't matter. Australia and Antarctica. Just kidding, they matter. That was a mean joke. Making them the most widespread genus of the tribe that we know of. With serrated scimitar teeth, elongated limbs for endurance running. And now, onto the final branch of the Maradon lineage. The most extreme, the most iconic, Smilodontini. Home to the famous Smilodon, also known as Diego, the saber-toothed tiger. The ones you think of when you hear saber-toothed cat.
Yeah.
Massive, saber canines, bulky bodies like a linebacker, and powerful forelimbs that make them excellent ambush predators. The fact I don't have it in here already is ridiculous. I have it in my living room to show off to my guests, but I wonder if I can just I have a little table right here, has a little corner piece right there. Is this stupid? Is this
No,
dumb?
I like it.
Yeah, that's it. This is it compared to my head.
Oh, wow.
One thing I haven't talked about yet is
I like it.
saber-toothed tiger, the common name. You've heard it before. It's technically incorrect. And
bummer.
they're not tigers. They were in a whole different branch. It's more correct to just call them a saber-toothed cat, since that's what they are. Saber-toothed tigers suggest they were tigers, but they were not. But what is a common name, really? You know, I get correcting it because you don't want people to think they were tigers with saber teeth. I have definitely corrected people on it before, but I kind of feel like looking back on those times with the venom that I corrected them in, it was just gross behavior, I guess. I don't know.
Just relax a little.
Because it's a common name. You know, I feel like my mind has changed. Maybe it's just
I feel like maybe it's similar to calling all tissues Kleenex. You know, calling all like lip balms Carmex. You know, it's like, you know, get the lip balm, get the lip. We always called this lip stuff, but you know, I feel it's, you know, it's glass cleaners are not all Windex. You know, I feel like it's a similar sort of thing. All rectangles are not like rectangles and squares and all that. You know, but sometimes being pedantic. Sometimes you just got to be a little pedantic. I'm throwing this, I'm just holding that now.
just today that I feel different about this, but who gives a shit if people call it a saber-toothed tiger? Who's that gonna affect if they call an extinct animal a saber-toothed tiger instead of a saber-toothed cat? Who does it affect? Common names are common names for a reason. Sometimes you have to pick your battles. Does it really matter? I don't know. Exhibit A, when someone sees a slippery dick.
Stop!
The fish. Do you feel the need to say it's not technically a dick? No. That's a bad example. It's obviously a fish. A saber-toothed tiger is obviously not a tiger. There's probably a million other examples of this. I just
Probably.
can't think of them because that was just a horrific example. But you get what I'm saying. Let's move to another sidebar on another thing I forgot to mention earlier on. If you're familiar with saber-toothed cats, you might have seen some scientists recently suggest that they didn't have their sabers exposed. Hey, I can show it.
Touch it.
Instead, that they were covered with skin for protection or to avoid damage. This changes the
interesting.
vibe dramatically. But it's a
They
lot
look
more
so droopy and dorky now. They don't look quite as scary without them exposed.
complex than covered in skin or no skin. Like anything in nature seems to have existed on a gradient. Some species had exposed canines, others didn't. I also want to say, I mean flaps, not skin on the teeth. I mean flaps. Early scimitar-toothed cats like Homotherium might have had partially concealed upper canines, so maybe right here when their mouths were closed. I can't close this, by the way. That would be cool. Fossil reconstruction suggests flexible lips covered the base of their shorter serrated teeth. similar to modern lions, which reduced wear and aligned with their endurance-based hunting style, where slashing tendons or stripping flesh required durability.
Also, I feel like if you've got your mouth constantly open with your teeth out, that's a lot of drool and stuff that can potentially happen there. You know, it's like you keep it covered together. Do this with your face. Talk like we were talking about fishes earlier. This is my fish look. All right, I have stretchy face skin, apparently.
Over
That was
precision.
weird.
But then extreme saber teeth, like this, probably had very exposed canines all the time, like this. This helped to create rapid, precise throat bites to immobilize large prey quickly. Critical for an ambush predator, reliant on power over stamina, which is what Smilodon had going on as a whole. Different groups experimented with different things based on their slightly different lifestyles, as you expect in nature. I'm gonna move this because this is a little distracting.
No, but I like it.
Smilodon starts with a puma-sized cat called Promeganterion. Is that how you pronounce it? Promeganterion. Promeganterion, alive in the late Miocene in Europe, like 9 to 7 million years ago. Already this early on, this cat showed some of the signature Sabertooth adaptations. Powerful forelimbs, and longer, flattened canines. They also had features like neck bones with bigger side projections for muscle attachment, i.e. enlarged transverse processes. This is kind of a transition between the ancestral cats and the saber cats. Made the neck stronger and more stable for grappling prey. Next, Meganetherium, alive more recently, like 4 million years ago to about 600,000 years ago, roughly. The oldest confirmed remains are from Kenya, date to 3.5 million years ago, but there's some unconfirmed remains that are a little over 4 million years old. And, as you would expect, most of their remains are pretty fragmented. Once again, muddy as fuck. What we definitely do know is they were all over the place, across Eurasia, Africa, in North America. So because of this, they're kind of like a pseudailurus situation where there's about a dozen species that have been proposed for different fossils found in different places, but only 2 are actually confirmed, at least for now. One of those species might be the ancestor to the rest. But who really knows for certain? Meganetherium's elusive remains suggest a cat that got to about the size of a lion, but more powerfully built, like their Smilodon brethren. They're considered a transitional form between earlier saber-toothed cats with more concealed canines and the later Smilodon types that had exposed as fuck. Some scientists have even suggested Meganetherium is the direct ancestor of Smilodon, but this is not confirmed. Other
but
people
that's cool,
see them
though.
as just sister groups. Sisters rather than mama and baby.
Either
And
way,
now I must
family.
leave you on another cliffhanger.
Oh, bummer.
Because I'm saving Smilodon for its own
Oh,
video,
hey.
which is already filmed. Don't worry, it'll be out in a week. You might know I started another series, Extinct, where I get some of my favorite extinct animals tattooed on me. It's probably not going to surprise you that Smilodon is episode 2. That's right, bitch.
Fun.
You got a crossover episode. So I'm going to talk about Smilodon more in depth there while I get it tattooed, and I already have it done. And I could show you right now, but I won't. If you haven't watched my first episode on Diabloceratops, check that out in the meantime. And subscribe so you don't miss the most iconic chapter of the Macarodon lineage getting permanently put onto my skin. Each episode was supposed to be a surprise, but I'm sure you're not shocked at all.
Spoiler!
This is the next episode. So the surprise will be the placement. The placement is sick. It's really sick. Check out my Patreon for behind-the-scenes updates, live streams, and our Discord server. And for now, stay curious. The world has a lot for us to learn. See ya!
Bye. Aw, she's always fun. I enjoy her enthusiasm so much, and I cannot wait to see the Smilodon tattoo. That looks really cool. Every time she talks about getting a tattoo, I'm like, I need a new tattoo. I need a new tattoo. And every time I say I need a new tattoo, I get at least 2 comments that are like, you don't need a new tattoo. I want one though. Oh, okay, fine. I don't need it. I want one. How about that? Anyway. Oh, these are always so interesting. Okay, so this was History of Cats Part 2. Next time is a sort of a crossover episode. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. And again, I know things have been a little bit weird lately with like posting schedules and like how like long and stuff videos have been. There's various reasons for that. One of which is Kit is still dealing with some stuff. He sends his love and appreciation for everybody. And then the other is that I've been in a show. So there's been like a lot of rehearsals and stuff that has kind of eaten into some random filming time. So the show is going to be over next week, which will give me a little bit more breathing room, fewer rehearsals, fewer late nights, I won't have to be constantly studying my lines. But that is what is happening. So there will be some more like slightly longer videos coming out in a week or so. I'll be able to like go and do some longer ones, some different stuff. It's been a lot of like paleontology and like ancient stuff recently. So I'm trying to like do some other things as well. I did like a mystery of a sinking ship. So if you've got other stuff that you would like me to look at, go ahead and let me know. And I can't wait to go and look at it. I'll see you in the next one.